Okay, the final element within our suite of videos is to re-engage really with this tired concept of reflection. It's really important because it is absolutely central to the SRA regime for continuing competence. It's a key philosophical underpinning of the whole construct. And of course, what's notable is that it's also a feature of the pre-qualification regime. You know, trainees, let's not forget, are required to keep a reflective development record, aka the training contract record, up to qualification. So in a sense, what the SRA is doing is saying, well, we want to continue that behaviour post-qualification. But of course, when we mention this or raise this with lawyers and indeed law firms, there is a collective rolling of the eyes. And I think that is testament to a number of things. Firstly, the extent to which lawyers perceive or don't perceive reflection as being something which is worth doing, or at least not worth capturing, not worth going through the process and time of actually capturing their reflections. And I think it's also testament to the fact that probably most firms, if asked the question, how robust is the reflective regime at your firm, will probably say, well, do you know what, beyond capturing some reflections at appraisal, it's not that great. And you know, this is where we have some interesting kind of questions and challenges in terms of meeting the regulatory regime, but actually also meeting some more aspirational and ambitious considerations. And these are what I really want to focus on here, because the idea of the reflective practitioner is not quite as old as the hills, but it's pretty old. It started in the 80s with the work of Professor Schön, who suggested that the reflective practitioner and reflective practice was a very good thing, and that fed through into higher education. In academia, it is absolutely a given that reflection is a good thing, and universities continue with varying degrees of success to try and embed reflective practice within their programs, and it is a crucial underpinning, as we've already discussed, about not just the new continuing competence regime, but the training contract record pre-qualification. But it is tired, it is seen as soft and woolly and worthy. It is seen really not as having any hard-edged relevance for practitioners, either individually or for the firms that they work in. And interestingly, and last March 2014, for the first time in a long time, we had a piece of work from the Harvard Business Review, which just gets us to think about things in a slightly different way. It focused upon a real-world field study, and to my, as far as I'm aware, this was the first proper piece of work that looked at the impact of reflection in a real business context, and it concerned the graduate trainee intake of a large business processing outsourcing company in India. These are guys coming to them from university who are going to man their telephone helplines, and it really reopens this whole concept of reflective practice and potentially re-energizes it, because if any of you want the research paper, please email me. I'll happily send it to you. But in essence, what the Harvard team identified was that actually 15 minutes spent capturing reflections at the end of each day resulted in a 23% better performance on key metrics compared to the cohort that didn't. So in other words, this trainee cohort were given their induction training, their process training, both before assessment and then in the first few weeks of going live in their jobs. And they were split into two cohorts: those that reflected and were forced to reflect for 15 minutes and to capture those reflections, and those who didn't. And on every single assessment and post-assessment metric, the cohort that reflected were more effective than those who didn't. And there is a number. The number is 23%. Now, clearly, this is one research project, and the Harvard team have thrown a challenge to the academic community to say, look, let's look at this. There is something here. And it seems to me that there is food for thought for law firms at the highest levels, because we are working in a highly competitive sector where productivity, in terms of squeezing and sweating our lawyers, we've probably taken that as far as we can go. So we now need to think about new ways of working smarter, getting productivity and effectiveness gains in a more strategic and creative way. And it seems to me that actually the SRA has potentially presented an opportunity for firms to really engage with this business of reflection, which underpins the continuing competence regime, not because the SRA thinks it's a good thing to do, but actually because if the firm takes it seriously, there may be some fantastic performance and business benefits that flow from it.